Welcome to the Teapot Reads. I'm the Teapot. This is what I'm currently reading, and I'm so happy to see you today. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing another Barnes & Noble related video. I realized I should probably do a hardest parts and most difficult parts of working at Barnes & Noble since I've done so many positive ones. Before I get started, disclaimer, these conjectures, these opinions, they're facts in relation to my life. This is my experience. I'm not speaking for the company. I'm not speaking for anyone else who works for the company. I love my job there. I love the company. Even before I worked there, I really, really liked them. And even after I leave someday, I will probably continue to really, really like them. But yeah, this is all just my experience. I would say my opinion, but like an experience isn't exactly opinion, but you know what I am talking about. I'm also sitting on my kitchen floor that has carpet right now because if you don't follow my vlogs at all, my dog recently went through surgery and he's back today, but we can't really leave him alone without putting him in the cone of shame, and I don't really want to do that to him, so I'm hanging out with him. If there are weird cuts, if it looks like I look off to the side, I'm just checking on him because he's making a noise or it sounds like he could be scratching. He is doing good. His recovery is going well. He's doing well. It's going well. It's just, you know, taking it one day at a time, making sure he's comfortable, making sure he's not pulling out of stitches, or he has a little fentanyl patch for pain, and so making sure he's not nibbling at that, which he was doing earlier. So yeah, that's just, if you see me looking over that way, he's laying down over there. Like, he's not far, but he's not next to me. He was nice to me when I started, which is why I chose this location, but yeah. So, hardest parts of working at Barnes & Noble. I have worked there, I started in October of 2019, was laid off during March of 2020 because of the COVID pandemic, and then got my job again in October of 2020, and it is currently October 2021. So I've been with the company for about 2 years, but I've only worked for them for about a year and a half. Some of these hardest parts, like sections, are retail universal, while some of them are specific to Barnes & Noble, but we're gonna kind of start with the most retail generic to the most this job specific. So number one, the customers. The customers are easily the most difficult part. We have a lot of great customers, and I think if I were to do a pie chart, more than half of them would be really nice or really, I don't want to say easy, but like they don't make it difficult to do my job. That being said, they can make it very difficult to do your job. I think anyone who's ever worked retail knows this. So even the ones who have great intentions sometimes just make it difficult because they're not prepared, or they don't know what they're asking for, or they just feel entitled to something that they're not entitled to. We get that a lot. For example, we sell Pokemon cards, trading cards, sports cards, and that's very popular right now. And we have an in-store policy of 2 packs per customer just so that more people get the opportunity to buy that, and it's kind of fair for everyone. We get customers all the time who feel like they should be entitled to more than 2 packs because of XYZ. And they're not angry or mad at us specifically, but they will get angry and they will get mad because they think they deserve this thing that, no, we've decided you don't. We do, of course, get really horrible people who come in. The mask portion of this pandemic has definitely grown that percentage of customers who are nasty. I've had people yell at me about masks. Okay, sir, just leave if you don't want to be here, kind of thing. But, and this is not, masks are important and you should be wearing it, especially if it is a mandate in your state. Like it is in Illinois, it is a mask mandate. Also, our company chooses to enforce the mask mandate. Like, just respect that, I guess. Masks are important. I was wearing my mask even when it wasn't a mask mandate. But that's not either here nor there. But there are customers who are just plain horrible. I don't normally like to do specific stories, but I don't really care about these two because I don't really see any reason why, like I don't see like another way to look at this story except to be like, yeah, that was a nasty person. So first of all, it was really early on in me working at Barnes & Noble. I was probably like my second, day on the book selling floor without any supervision. Like, I could have asked for help if I needed it, but I kind of had a grip on the store and I could work the computers and the phones and all that. And it was like my second day, and I was shelving something, and I hear someone around the vicinity of customer service just like yell out, "Is there anyone here who can help me?" And I go, and it's an older couple, and she immediately starts complaining that there are no chairs. And I was like, "Well, there are chairs. Do you want me to go get one?" Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, "No, no, no." She goes to sit in the cafe, and her husband is looking for a DVD. It's I think it was like a National Lampoon DVD. And I was helping him, and it was just taking a while because it wasn't where it was supposed to be. So I was like, "Hold on, do you want to go sit down? I can come find you." He doesn't. He just wants to talk. And I was like, "Okay, well, he seems a little nicer than his wife." And then he's like talking, and he says something about how he just likes old movies and he doesn't think new movies are good anymore. I was like, "Oh, that's fair. Hollywood seems to be running out of ideas." And then he's like, "Yeah, it's just that there aren't enough women raped in movies anymore. And I liked watching that, and I think women should be raped more." And I was like, "Hold on." I was shocked. I was flabbergasted. I was shaken. I turned to him and I said, "Well, no one wants to hear your opinion." I found him the DVD and I walked away. I was like, I probably shouldn't have even found him the DVD. I probably should have told a supervisor immediately, but I was just shell-shocked and just thrown off my game, and just worked to repress that. I think I told someone eventually, but it was like days later. Like, there's nothing you could do. That couple has never come back into the store, at least while I've been working there. I would remember them, but I was just like, "Are you kidding me? You just said that out loud?" Another person, and this was more recently, this was just a couple months ago, it was a phone customer. I picked up the phone. I was like, "Hi, how can I help you?" They said they were looking for a book on a specific type of programming. And I said, "Okay, well, we have these two in the store. These are the price. Like, did you want me to put one aside? These are the prices." They start going off. They were like, "That is too fucking expensive. How dare you?" Like, and I was like, "Oh, well, do you want me to see if there's one I could order? I need it today." "Okay, I'm sorry. That's all I can do to help you." And then they start just screaming at me, and it went on longer than that, but I don't want to relive it in its entirety. I ended up just like, I don't know why I stayed on the phone so long. I think I was trying to like actually help them. I don't know why. I just ended up hanging up in the middle of them, like screaming horrible slurs at me. I was like, and I then went over the headset. I was like, "Hey, if someone calls to complain about me, this is the situation that just happened. I hope she doesn't call, but I'm not answering the phone for the next couple of rings, if that's okay with people." And then I went in the back and just like cooled down for like a minute, because I was like, "Are you kidding me? Why? Like, what gives you the right?" Another interesting thing that customers sometimes do is that they think that we're their friends, which is fine. I think that that's okay to be friendly with your customers, and with customers with the people helping them. I think that's actually good. Be friendly with them. But there are some people who just don't know where the boundary line is. I have had customers share things with me that have made me really question why they're sharing them with a stranger. I do not need to know these personal details about your life. And yeah, sometimes the things they share takes a little bit of a toll on me, because I'm like, I did not need to hear about that trauma. You don't know what kind of trauma I have been through. Why would you think that is okay to share with a stranger? Also, how are you comfortable sharing that with a stranger? I am a person. I'm not just like a faceless wall, right? So I don't know. And that way customers can be difficult too. I don't really think poorly of those people. I just think they lack a little bit self-awareness about where they are and maybe who they're talking to. And I do often feel bad because of the things they share with me. It makes it a little harder sometimes to do the job when you don't know if the customer is going to tell you something really upsetting or not. Another thing that has personally at this moment been really taking a toll on me, and doesn't all the time, I actually like retail for this sometimes, but lately has just been very difficult, are retail hours. Working 7 days a week, or being able to work 7 days a week, and not necessarily working a 9 to 5. The store is open from 10 to 9, so sometimes I have to get there as early as 8, and the latest I've had to stay has, outside of like odd things like inventory, has probably been like 11, just if something happens when closing. Sometimes it's really desirable to have these weird hours because my schedule is not set. It's not the same every week. It changes, and I do kind of like that a lot of times. But when I'm at a mental health low point, it is very taxing on me. And lately, that's just kind of where I've been. I just find it very difficult not to have a set schedule, or to have a schedule that doesn't align with what I wish it could be. I think if well, I know someday I will leave Barnes & Noble, whether it's because I find a different job or because my writing takes off, maybe, or just because it's time to move on, or I guess maybe I do stay there for the rest of my career and retire eventually. But if I do, I think a large factor will probably be the retail hours. I think I would go to something with steadier hours or hours that I could set. It's difficult sometimes to sort of have to make the rest of your life fit into odd hours that a lot of the world, or I shouldn't say a lot of the world, because a lot of the world is retail, but a lot of the working world does not fit into. So that it just becomes difficult sometimes. Something that's been happening recently, and it's just because of the changing of the seasons, is that we lose a lot of employees and we gain a lot of new employees. It's not a high turnover job, but it is a retail job. So to some degree, yes, it is high turnover. We get a lot of part-time high schoolers coming in, especially around the holidays or at the beginning of the summer. And you become friends with these people and they leave. And it's kind of hard to move on. It's kind of hard to become really close with any of your coworkers when you know they might leave. I mean, there are some people that I've been there for many years, and those people it's definitely easier to get close to because you know they're in it for the long run. But there is something really difficult about knowing that you're never really going to be set in stone working with these people for a while. So you become friendly, but it's hard to say that you're close friends, I think. I also think that it's hard because you're doing a lot of training, especially during very difficult times of the year, like right now, getting ready for the holidays. There's so much going on, and there are a lot of new people that we need to train. It's a lot to balance. It's something I've done before, and it's something I know can be done, and that I know I can do, but it definitely adds a little extra stress. Again, this is pretty retail generic. I think a lot of jobs have this going on, especially around the holidays, because you need the extra hands in the store. It adds another level of, this is making my job harder than it necessarily needs to be. So yeah, that's just like a small thing. I definitely appreciate every single person who has worked at the store, minus maybe one who was super homophobic. I was gonna say two, but really just one. She was a mega homophobe. I didn't like working with her, and I was really happy when she left. Okay, so I don't know how this works for other retail jobs, but at our store at Receiving, that's the back room where the trucks drop off the packages and where we open everything and get it ready to go out to the book floor. So when Receiving gets backed up, the whole store gets backed up. And lately it has been very backed up. It's because we've just been getting such big deliveries in prep, again, for the holidays and for a lot of shortages that people are expecting. If we get the product now, we don't have to worry about getting it later necessarily. Plus, people are shopping earlier. All this has led to just an avalanche of boxes in the back, and we are going through them as quick as we can and getting things on the floor as quickly as we can. But really, if Receiving gets backed up, the entire store gets backed up, and it is such a headache. And it's something I forget about every year until Christmas time rolls around. And yes, I know it's not Christmas time yet. I'm filming this like mid-October, but it's early enough that we're feeling the ripple effects of the holiday season. And it is just very stressful to be here. But as soon as, when February, March hits, I will probably completely forget about the holiday backup. Okay, this one is gonna sound a little funny, but has actually led to at least one employee having to go to the hospital in an ambulance. She was okay. It was just a precaution, but books can fall on you and hit you in the head, and they hurt. They hurt a lot. Books are heavy. You probably know this if you're watching this channel because you probably like books, and you've probably had books fall on you at one point or another. But we have these little carts, and sometimes the books on the carts fall because we don't stack them properly. And yeah, it hurts when it hits you. Some of these are just massive blocks of weight. They've got harsh corners. Again, Receiving with boxes, sometimes you're moving a box and the box slips, and that is a heavy box of books, and that hurts. I've had books fall off shelves as I'm shelving, and they've hit me. Luckily, only paperbacks have hit my head. I've never had anything mega hit my head. I did have, like I said, one coworker who was standing at sort of the wrong place, and a stack of books fell and hit her on the head, and they were like, hey, just as a precaution, you should go to the hospital. So she did. She's totally fine, but it doesn't hurt to check, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's kind of I'm sure things falling is a retail generic complaint, right? It's probably a many job complaint, but Barnes & Noble specifically, it's books. Sometimes they fall and they're very painful. So at Barnes & Noble, we do we have the leeway to get books into our store that we like to hand sell and like to push, and we like to say this is a book I love, and we can like say that genuinely. I have a lot of books in the store that I have asked to be ordered in because I think this is a book that not just our customers will like, but that I will enjoy hand selling because I love this book. I have also had customers ask me, are you just saying that or have you actually read it? And honestly, I've been like, no, I've read this entire series. I love this series. I've been reading it for years. That being said, there are books that we are expected to push, and the company gives us a lot of resources. You know, we're allowed to read the books. A lot of times we get early copies so that we can read the books ahead of time and get hyped and get excited. We are given documents about what the book is about other booksellers' reviews. People in the store tend to read some. I tend to buy some of the books that we're expected to push just so I can read it and talk about it. But there is a point where there are books that I have no interest in, and I have to find ways to push and be genuine about. And finding that line is sometimes very difficult. For example, there was a nonfiction book that was one of our pick of the months a couple months ago that I had no interest in reading, and that none of the reviews really sounded that good. And I was like, well, I can't lie to the customer. I can't say, oh, this book is amazing. That would be wrong, especially because there are customers and regulars who come in and who trust our opinion, and I don't want to lie. And no one in my store had read it. No one had really interest in reading it. Our customers weren't really being drawn to it. So finding the line and finding a good way to sell it was a little difficult. And that month we did not do great on that book. It happens. Sometimes you have bad months. I will say it does happen. The customers are, in the end, the ones who decide to buy it or not. And customers were just not interested in buying this one, which is fine. Totally their right. But that book just really made me think, how do I honestly sell this book to people? So, you know, in the end, I did my best. If customers came in specifically looking for nonfiction books, I always took them to this book and told them what it was about. And I tried to sound passionate about it. It didn't always work. On the other hand, one of the nonfiction books that we have pushed in more recent months is a book that I read a while ago and absolutely loved and find it really easy to hand sell because I was hand selling it ahead of time. It's a really easy book to push. There's no line there. It's me legitimately being like, this is one of my favorite nonfiction books. I've never read that much nonfiction, but this one I've read and I enjoy. But yeah, I mean, just maintaining integrity while also doing what the company wants can sometimes be difficult, is really what I'm trying to say here. So another issue that is really out of our control, kind of like receiving getting backed up just because we have to get the stock in, is sometimes books go out of print. Lately we've seen it a lot with manga. They've just gone out of print. It's often temporary, especially with manga. It's just they're waiting for a new reprint and there are none in the warehouse and we cannot get our hands on any of them. And it's really frustrating. For the store, a little bit less than probably the consumer who wants the book, but it is still really, really frustrating when you have a book and you get 5 copies and it sells out in the first day, and then customers come in for 2 weeks and you have to tell them, I'm sorry, it's sold out. We have 12 on the way. I can put your name down, but I don't know exactly when it'll be in the store. And customers do get angry. They've begun understanding it a lot more, especially the more delays they're seeing just in general across the board with anything they're buying. But it's frustrating, and I always feel bad when I'm like, hey, this book is great and everyone wants it and we could sell like probably 20 copies today. We just don't have any. For instance, right now it's they're waiting for a reprint that I think is coming in the middle of next month for Midnight in Washington, and we have like 5 customers a day coming in and asking for it. We could have sold out 10 times the amount we originally had sold. So it's just frustrating on like that level too, to know what we could do and to know what we're unable to do, just because of supply issues. And that happens even outside of COVID times. All right, and finally, and this is something that I struggle with personally even before I worked at a Barnes & Noble, but is definitely worse now that I work at my favorite place to shop. There is always the temptation to buy I will say that it's not because of the company or because of my coworkers or anything like that. It's just there are always so many interesting books coming out, and I'm always tempted to buy something. It is so hard to leave work without having made a purchase. And it's not really a healthy mindset. It's really not a healthy way to live your life. And I don't have room for books if I buy books every day. But the temptation is always there, and I have to really brace myself some days. It's a personal thing. It's an issue that I have been trying to work through. Just if you watch any of my book hauls, you know that I talk about it a lot there. Just consumption. If I'm not going to read it, I have to really think harder, I think, about why I'm buying it. But I buy it anyways a lot of the time. But yeah, the temptation literally from the minute I walk in. Not gonna lie. And that's it. That is the hardest parts of working at Barnes & Noble. I definitely have more customer horror stories. I just often choose not to share them because there's like privacy there, I think, even though I don't name names. Like I said, I love working at Barnes & Noble. It is the best job I have ever had. I cherish it. I don't know what I would do. I think if I worked a different retail job, I wouldn't be happy. I think Barnes & Noble is pretty much the only retail job where I would be happy. So I think that means a lot. And like I said, I have a lot of really positive videos about working at Barnes & Noble, and you can definitely check those out. They're always fun to make. The response is always great. I appreciate every single one of you. If you are a subscriber watching this, thank you so much. I appreciate you even more than the ones who aren't subscribers. He's like snoring. I appreciate you so very much. Thank you so much. And if you want to see more content like this or just other bookish content, please consider subscribing. I try to post every week lately because of an eye injury and also because Tank having to go to surgery, and there's just a lot been going on. It's been a little harder to maintain that once a week, but I'm really trucking along and I'm really trying, guys. Hopefully in time for the holidays I will be back on my weekly posting schedule. But if you sat through all this, thank you so much. I hope you are doing well. If you are somewhere cold, I hope you're staying warm, and if you're somewhere warm, I hope you're staying comfortable. Most of all, I hope you're reading a great book. I will see you guys next time. Bye!